We are live. Excellent. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Simply Spooky with myself, with Jamie, and with Vivian. And this evening, as you probably know now if you've seen the advertisements, tonight we're going to be talking about the Bogeyman. What do you reckon, Viv? Any thoughts?
Oh, I got lots of thoughts.
Why, William?
Hello. I got lots and lots and lots of thoughts.
Jolly good. You've done your homework then.
Do you want me to do the kick-off then?
You can if you want.
Okay, so tonight we're talking about bogeymen, and I did some research about all of this because.
Are you, Chantal?
Because, well, what is a bogeyman? So I looked up the term bogeyman, and it says bogeyman is a type of mythical creature used by adults to frighten children.
I was about to say that. That's what my parents used to say to me.
Into good behaviour. The bogeyman has no, I hate that word, specific appearance or conceptions, mostly depicted as masculine and a androgynous type of monster type thing that punishes naughty children. So that was my understanding of what a bogeyman is.
Right,
but it opens floodgates.
Well, it does. Do you want me to chip in?
Yes, go on, carry on.
Like you, I looked it up, Bogeyman, and I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with it, and the first sign of it, or the first time that he was ever mentioned in writing, was in the year 1500. Like you, he's kind of an androgynous character. He's sort of lots and lots of things, but they believe that the origins of him can be, or what it describes as, hobgoblin.
Yes, I saw that.
So they think that was hobgoblin. Now the thing about him is that he was also known in Old English, or in the UK, or in England actually. He was known originally as Buggyman, and Buggyman was a creature.
It's not a Rastafarian bogeyman.
No, not Rastafarian. A Buggyman was a creature that used to dig up the bodies of the dead, and it was particularly prominent around the periods of when we had plague in Europe. And that was part of the origins of him. And of course, they said that's why he's got this sick-looking pallor, and that's why he looks ill and emaciated, because he's obviously dealing with people that have passed away with disease, and he's contracted it. But interestingly enough, it's a global phenomenon. So all different cultures all over the world have got their bogeyman, if you like. But nobody, not when I've looked into it, nobody's actually found the root of it. But the first mention of him was in 1500.
Yeah, I mean, I've got first references described as hobgoblins, like you said, Dan.
Yeah.
In the 16th century, and they were made to torment humans, and some merely played pranks, while others seemed foul in nature. And then I found that history says legends of the beginning of bogeyman originated in Scotland, and references back to the 1500s. So typical Scottish. I always have to get in there one over on us all the time.
Well, if he's Scottish, we're probably paying for him then. Right.
Sorry. We had it as a creature in the dark. Why we had night lights. Yeah?
Yes, exactly. That was the origins of it. But it does seem to me, go to Scotland, I'll tell them where to go. Now, it seems...
Right, so I've got some pictures, right? So I have a picture, and I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the most famous bogeyman in all of the world, right?
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know if you can see that, guys.
That's Fungus.
So there's Fungus, the bogeyman, and I've done it like this because it's so hot today. I couldn't be bothered to download and do PowerPoint presentations and that sort of thing. So, but it just gets too much, and I'm not very techno. I'm not a technical person, so I'm tried to get some pictures for you of some of these folklore pictures, and here, so you know what we're talking about. This is a hobgoblin.
Now that's like your hobgoblin, yeah.
And he's also famous, Dan, because he's been on some of your beers, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's on
Hobgoblin.
a lot of my beer. The
Do
old,
you like
Hobgoblin,
Hobgoblin
the old
beer?
Witchwood Brewery. But that's
So-
the thing, isn't it? It's an interesting. Viv, does it strike you as almost like in lore, like a cryptid?
Well, I'm going to come back to that
Yeah.
because this is in folklore. So this, I don't know if you can see it properly, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is called a jumbie.
Okay.
So this is a jumbie, and this is in Caribbean folklore. So it's something that, again, was used to frighten children and that sort of thing.
It's amazing, isn't it, though, that the origins are global.
This one looks quite modern and quite vampiric, but this is called Boot. I'm most probably pronouncing it wrong, but I'm calling it Boot or Bahoot, and this is Indian folklore to keep children on the
So
straight
would that
and
be
narrow.
would that be like an Indian hobgoblin then? Would it or
Yeah,
maybe
he lives
like
in the
Indian
forest.
hobgoblin?
Here's one that everyone should know about. So
That's
the
Krampus.
children, there's Krampus.
Mm.
So he was a kind of a folklore bogeyman, if you like, that was depicted just to get children to behave themselves, especially around Christmas time. And as we all know, that one originated in Germany. And this one, I don't know if you can read that. So if I get that.
What's that?
If
So
I-
I can't see the top of it. Is that
The Schwarzerman.
Schwarzman? That's black,
So
isn't
that's,
it? Schwarz is
I
black.
know, but if you look at his face, he wears a top hat and he comes with a skeletal face, and it comes through the mirrors and things like
Oh.
that. That's another one.
See, it all ties in, doesn't it?
And then I have this one. Now, this is the best picture that I thought that I saw out there, and this is called a Baba Yaga. So if you see
All right.
that
What
there,
culture is that from?
so that one is Slavic folklore,
Oh, really?
and she is a witch of the forest that takes babies and young
Okay.
children. So I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
She's made of
Yeah, that's cool.
twigs and everything.
So it's almost
And-
like nature spirits, aren't they? They're almost like elementals.
yeah, and then I've sort of brought it today more modern versions of these.
Nobody's
folklore.
watching anymore.
I'll be boring them.
I've insulted them with the Scottish jibes.
So then we have Jason Voorhees. So he
Yes.
was another one in
Yes.
today's
Yes.
folklore.
Yeah.
People are using Jason. Like, if you don't behave, I'll kick you out, and Jason will come and get you. So that's that one.
He's
And then
another one, isn't he? He's another one, Viv, isn't he? Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger, about
Gets you to
dreaming,
sleep.
get you to sleep. Here's another one, more modern day.
Oh, Gremlin.
The Gremlin.
So there's a bad one for you.
Oh, I love Gremlins.
So again, like, everyone blames the gremlins when things go wrong. So there's another type of bogeyman that we could take from modern day that parents are using against their
But you're
kids.
right. You're absolutely right, because people refer to it, don't they? If there's something goes wrong with a bit of machinery, there's Gremlins in it.
Yeah.
What about this one, Dan? This is called the Jersey Devil. So
Oh,
it's
very
associated
famous.
with a certain forest out in America. This one we all know and love.
Mr. Foot.
Hey, Bigfoot.
Murphy.
That's Dan out on a walk without the kids.
If he's a bogeyman, he's the coolest bogeyman.
Murphy.
Another one for Dan.
Yeah, another cool bogeyman.
That's Dogman.
It is.
Get him in close. I can't get him in too close. It'll start.
It's
going
amazing,
funny.
isn't it? Because all of the characteristics, they all sort of tie into each other, don't they? At different levels.
Yeah.
Here's a thing. We got to include her. She's not a man. It's a woman, but the Banshee of Ireland.
Well, yeah.
So would you
True.
categorise her as a bogeyman? And the last one I've got, Dan, and it's not a man, but I'm gonna include it. the black shuck.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
folklore. So that was what I found.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They're all sort of creatures that people have used to sort of chastise or upset children with and threaten children with.
Yeah, that's it.
Go on, Jay. Sorry.
I can remember years ago, if like before we went to bed, like even if we were in bed, and me and my brother used to play up, and Dad used to run up the stairs, and we used to go under the covers and say, "Look, we're kind of asleep." He thinks, "Nah." He said, "You better go to sleep because the bogeyman will come up," you know. And then we're like, "All right, okay, we better go to sleep," kind of thing. So I can see where this comes from. You know,
Yeah.
you got to do as you, like Viv said, you've got to do as you're told. You got to go to sleep, but if not, this character or cryptic will come through and take you away and do, you know. But I can see where it comes from because they used to scare the ghoulies out of us, and we used to go to sleep, so it didn't do me any harm.
No, I think the thing that I find interesting over all of it is that the way that these creatures span cultures. So you're looking at cultures that go back way before they've had any connection to each other, and yet they all share a sort of similar, I suppose, they all share a sort of similar mythology or lore on some level, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that cultures go back a lot further with each other than we initially thought. But even so, you know, there are some cultures out there that are untainted by, or were untainted by, sort of other human populations, and yet they still, when they've been discovered, carry the same sort of laws and folklores and tales that all the other cultures have, which is intriguing and interesting.
Do you think it's a case of, well, back then, if they had unruly kids, this was sort of all made up just so they could control their kids. But today, in today's age, where things have moved on and we've progressed as people, do you think it's the parents being a little bit lazy to be able to control the kids? Because I know I used it, you know, Christmas Eve in my household was terrible to get the kids to go to sleep.
I think you're right, but do you know what I think has become the modern day bogeyman?
Yeah, but I used to this is how awful I was though, Dan. I would tell my kids,
thank you.
You've got to go to sleep before the pixies come or the elves. And they'd go, "Why? I'm not scared of elves." And I'd say, "Well, you know, they've got those curly shoes. Do you know why they got curly shoes? Because if the children are not asleep, the elves go in first. And if the kids are not sleeping, they kick the kids in the eyeballs with their shoes and it pierces their eyeballs so they become blind. And they're momentarily blind. It's when Santa comes in and puts all the presents down. So if you don't want to go blind, go to sleep, and then the elves can't touch you." So I was a bit of a horrible parent.
I was going to say, your boys must hate you now, I should imagine. I think the modern bogeyman today is the refusal of letting them have their tablets and iPhones. Yeah. I think that's the modern bogeyman now, isn't it? People have sort of moved away from that and said, "Well, you know, we're gonna deprive you of something." But I don't think there's anything wrong with these sort of stories and these, because I think it stirs the imagination.
Yes.
You know, if we didn't have these myths and legends and fairy tales and stories and the origins and what have you, then we wouldn't have the culture we've got today, I don't think.
Into danger, someone out there.
Yeah.
Scary world.
Yeah, very true, William. Very true.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned just some of the ones around the world because I didn't want to sit there all afternoon looking for more countries and more that I can attribute it to around the world. But you know, if you was to go back or look these up and look at their lore and their legends, they're all pretty much the same, all of them.
I think one of the places that I've ever been, probably outside of the UK, the most, even more than the UK, I think the one country that I've been to that shares a lot of the folklore and history, which obviously is European, but they seem to still be immersed in it, is this myth and fairy tale folklore, Germany.
Yeah.
You know, I spent a lot of time there. Beautiful country. Very sort of, if you like, very fairy tale in the look of it. It's just a stunning country.
It's picturesque, isn't it?
Picturesque.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Beautiful. And I think I can see why these fairy tales come out. You've got the Black Forest and you've got, you know, all of that beautiful sort of countryside and woods and God knows what. So I can see why,
Oh,
why we have it here, because obviously the thing is, the English are a part Germanic tribe, aren't they? They're part of that. So, that culture would have come over, and it's all shared across Europe, isn't it? And then of course you got a lot of the Europeans that went to North America, and they took the myths and fairy tales and culture with them. And then you got a lot of Native American culture that has got their own, which are very similar to, the experiences and the entities that the Europeans have. But I do find it interesting. It is an intriguing subject.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah, I think it is as well. Yeah, we could go. What's your favourite one, Dan, that you know about?
What, Bogeyman or
Bogeyman?
Bogeyman. Oh, I don't know. There's loads of them, aren't there? I think the Shadow Man. The Shadow Man. I think that's a good one, because
Shadow
that
Man.
is just ethereal, isn't it? It's just a shadow. And they say, like, that people often see a shadow in their room, or they'll see something standing there, and it'll be in darkness and in shade and that. And obviously we associate that with shadow people, but there's just an element of something else there with the Shadow Man.
Yeah.
And if you remember rightly, there was something called the Sandman. And
the
big hat, the shadow and the big hat. And that, I believe, was along those lines. It was perceived to be something ethereal and something a little bit frightening at the time. But it'd be interesting to find out what ones have fell by the way, because there's probably, there's probably characters and personalities in these folklores and these fairy tales that have just gone out of existence because people have stopped writing it and oral traditions died out. But it's interesting. What are you, Joe? What's your favourite one?
I suppose it's got to be the original Bogeyman, mate, to be fair. Like I told you the story about Dad and stuff. And I think it's just, you do believe he's going to come up. He's going to come up them stairs. He's going to, but I'm not too sure about the other ones, because I never heard them. I never heard them, like, when I was growing up. I always had the original Bogeyman.
That one that you're used to.
So not like the dark. I've heard a little bit about the Sandman, the one you said about, and the Shadow Man, but I didn't go like through the other one, like the German one, and I've never heard of them.
No. And then you've got modern ones, haven't you? Like, is it Siren Head?
Yeah.
That one. You've got that one, and you've got Slender Man.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
It was I would kind of say that was sort of in that sort of camp, as it were.
Yeah.
What about that one with all the, like, it looks like a tree, and on that famous advert on the TV, they called him the Judder Man with all the stick
that's
fingers
right.
and
Yeah. He was like Jack Frost, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
All the long tree tendrils and the sort of white hair and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think that was an advert for German beer, I think. So, again, Germany, rife with it.
Sorry, carry on. Talk amongst yourselves.
What's your favourite one?
I love Krampus. I just love Krampus.
God, that's a grim story. Well, obviously,
it's a grim,
it's a grim story, isn't it? That's a proper nasty story, isn't it? That one.
So Krampus, what is he?
He's sort of anti-Father Christmas. He's the opposite.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
what animal is he?
Kids that are horrible. Kids that are like being vile.
Oh, okay.
What he does, he'll come and he'll put them into his sack and he'll take them away. I think he's got a wicker basket on his back.
Right.
And then what he does is he crunches them up and uses their bones for soup.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Again, German in origin. But yeah, it is intriguing and interesting. But look, we're back to nobody again.
Yeah, because there is
I know.
another show that's
Yeah.
broadcasting the same time as ours. So I'm just trying to sort that out with Jeremy now as we speak. So
Yeah, it happened last week, didn't it?
yeah.
And we thought we'd sorted it, but yeah, we shall have to wait and see, I guess. Yeah, we've normally got a few more on here, guys, in the chat, but unfortunately, there seems to be a conflicting time slot. Somebody else is going live at the same time as us, which didn't happen before last week, and we thought it was sorted out, but it doesn't seem to be.
Okay, so Banshees, Dan, do you want to talk about the Banshees again?
Yeah.
Because I know
there's certain clans in Ireland, certain families with family names that go back generations, and at the death of one of the members of the family that carries that name, the Banshee's said to appear the night before, and she does nothing but howls and screams, and it's an announcement of the death. She's come to take that person, and she's often seen on a bridge, so she's often seen over water, and she's got long hair, and she's brushing it. And there are stories of men that have gone up to her, not thinking or not realizing who she was, and then sort of touching her. And as she turns around, she's got the most frightening features. And then I believe she lets out a massive scream at them. But yeah, it's a particularly terrifying one. Obviously, that's Irish, but I think there's lots of cultures that have got similar, again, sort of, things like that. But but the Banshee's the Irish one. I think the Scots have got something similar to that as well.
Yeah, and the Irish have quite a few things like
They
with
do.
the fae, the fairies that
The
are quite
fae's
nasty.
big in Ireland.
Yeah,
And the leprechauns
Big,
as well,
big
isn't
even now. The leprechauns, yeah.
it?
The little people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ireland's got a big, big fae culture.
yeah,
I mean, my father was he was adamant that these things were real, and I believe
really?
him. I completely believe him. Yeah, I completely believe him. You're talking about a man that he was a big, tough soldier. He spent his career he was a career soldier, so he wasn't one for being frightened by anything or being nervous of anything, and he wasn't sort of prone to flights of fancy. But he was, as far as the fae were concerned, that was a real thing. They existed.
yeah, no, definitely.
You know?
So Bigfoot, do you think that the more modern day ones could be misinterpreted as the bogeyman, or are parents out there using these cryptid-like creatures? I'll even bring up Nessie in Scotland, one of the most famous ones, that if you get too close to the water, Nessie's going to grab you, so you're going to keep the kids out of the loch. Or if you go into the forest, I know the native Indians would talk about the tall man will come and get you, or, if you disrespected them. Do you think like these cryptids of today were our bogeymen of the past?
I think they probably were, but I also think that there's sort of no smoke without fire, is there? I think that the origins of these things have got some element of truth to them, because how would they? People just don't pluck things like that out the air. I don't think there has to be something that there has to be that seed that it comes from, and so I think that would be in reality.
Yeah.
Even creatures. I mean, if you look at medieval wall hangings and you look at medieval myth and you look at the stories from the medieval period, and you have things like dragons and that appear. Well, people don't believe in them, and you have a lot of paleontologists that say, "Well, we haven't found any bones or skulls." But then, what if these are interdimensional creatures?
Oh yeah.
What if there was a rift then that was open? I know it's all fantasy and it's all conjecture, but I do think that there's some sort of element of truth in these things.
Yeah.
And I do think that the origins, it goes so far back that nobody, it's all lost in the annals of time. It's become a mystery wrapped up in a puzzle,
I think so. What about you, Jamie? Because you've got a young child. So what do you use to get your son to do what he's supposed to be doing? Do you use a bogeyman of
No,
any type to
well,
do
no,
that?
we just threaten him, like Dan said, with no iPad, no phone, no text. But as you know, my little boy loves Bigfoot.
He does.
He's very
Yes.
into it. So
He does.
he's watching all the episodes of Bigfoot, and I think it's because I was into it. Bigfoot. I think it with my little boy. He's like, well, it seems to him to be a creature like Nessie. He loves Nessie. He wants to go to Scotland. He wants to go and feed him. But trying to tell someone that it's a cryptid, it's not going to happen. I'm gonna keep it like that because he still thinks that Nessie's Nessie. That's swimming around the loch, and then you obviously Bigfoot. There was a sighting a few days ago, so. He thinks he's got a little figure. I sent you the picture, didn't I?
Yeah.
He's got a white Bigfoot, but he,
He has a Yeti, isn't he?
Yeti, yeah.
And he still thinks that Bigfoot. He calls him Murphy as well, obviously, his name. So he's proper into it, and that's how I want him to grow up to be like with Bigfoot. He's obviously seen the videos and that on YouTube, and he's like, I want to go, so I'm urging him to get into what I enjoy as well,
Yeah.
So I think he's just, I don't know, it's just, but yeah,
See,
like I say,
when you say about Bigfoot, I mean, going back in history here in the UK, and I'm not just talking a few years, I'm talking about a few hundreds of years.
Yeah.
We've had things in our forest called the woodwows.
Woodwows, yeah.
And the woodwows are our version of Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
So we've had
Yeah.
woodwows here in the UK hundreds and hundreds of years.
And people think that's the depiction of the Green Man, Viv, don't they?
Yeah, but
I've heard of the Green Man.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
So the woodwows would be our Bigfoots, and a lot of people this year alone, we've had a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in a certain forest, which I'm not going to mention where.
No.
I'm going to keep it quiet. It's not Cannock Chase. There've been a lot of people, haven't they, Dan, reporting the same.
Yeah, I think to date, I think it was 10 sightings that have been put into the police, reported to the police, and people, they tend not to, if they see something unusual, they tend not to report it, do they?
No,
because they think that they'll be ridiculed. So, but yeah, there's 10, I think, so far that have been reported to police. This was as of about a month ago, so it could have gone up by now. But for 10, and these are separate sightings, so they're not of groups of people. These are separate sightings, which kind of makes your ears prick up a little bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does as well.
Because you think, like, if it's 10 people saw it, well, it could have been, but.
So again, like in history, could it be like a misinterpretation of the woodwows and the Green Man, which are really two separate things, but they can intertwine? People can get these identifications mixed up because back then, don't forget, people were quite simple and they believed what they were told by the government or by the people were controlled a lot. So, and by the church as well in this country. The church had a lot to say, and I'll go as far as to say that our kings and queens of the time were not ruling the country, the church was. Telling the kings and queens what to do. Yeah. So it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. But it's interesting to see how sort of interrelated all these things are of different levels,
And I know Japan, I mean, I think one of the countries that I came across that had the most was Japan. All these folklore.
They've got lots of lore, haven't they, and folklore.
Yeah, and it goes right back. Some of them, even to modern day, where there is, and I forget the name, it's not Ju-on, of this creature that looks like a woman. And if you come across her and she smiles at you, and apparently her smile goes right across here, like she's had a Chelsea smile given to her. And if she smiles at you, she goes after men. If she smiles at you, you die. And you end up with this big cut across your face like this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And apparently she was somebody that got murdered. I don't know if it was by her partner. He just wanted to get rid of her, move on, whatever. So there's this, you know, and that's more modern day folklore. That's not the old stuff. And there's hundreds of the old stuff.
It sounds like similar to, is it, I don't know if it's Mexican or, I think it might be Mexican. Is it La Llorona?
Oh, La Llorona. She's the, isn't
Did she lose her child or something? And she looks for the child in the forest and screams and.
In the fire. She's the goddess of
Yeah.
death, isn't she? Wasn't her child burnt, or she was in a fire or something?
Yeah. It was the child, and then she's looking for the child, isn't she? But I think she's now seen as an omen, isn't she, or something?
Yeah, she's apparently, I could have this wrong, but I thought that La Llorona she's got her own. She's like a deity now, and she's celebrated in Mexico.
She probably is, yeah.
It has a special day where they all come out and recognise her and give her offerings, and they all have street parties and they do.
Is it her? There's another one, isn't there? That's seen down by a river, and men drown to get drowned there. I can't think that it might be her. It might be somebody similar to her. But she's in white, seen walking around this like white flowing dress, seen walking around the river. And then men get pulled to their death. I'm not. Yeah,
I know La Llorona. She's got the halo around her now, and
she's Mexican, I think.
Isn't she? And she looks very beautiful. But apparently she's something to do with death. A deity towards
again
death
Mexicans. Lots and lots of folklore. Lots and lots of Lots and lots of cult in their culture. Lots and lots of fairy tale and myth and folklore and all sorts of weird and wonderful things.
Yeah,
you know,
and again, like Mexico, aren't they one of the it's a very old civilization there in Mexico as well? The Mayans, it even goes back to now. I don't know what it's called, Dan. You might know, where they have it's a picture of a big cat, and then the cat's mouth is open, and there's a man's face inside the cat.
I don't know that one.
That looks very alien-like. It looks like an alien figure coming out of
Is that Mexican? Is it that one?
It's Mexican, Mayan, yeah. And
well, so sorry,
the ancient Mayans. They believed in their deities and things, but we could also cross this over into UFO because they believed that aliens had landed and given them instruction. And this cat with the alien coming out of its mouth is supposed to be one of the depictions. And again, did they use that to frighten their children? Behave yourself, I'm afraid, to the aliens.
Yeah. You never know. Absolutely. But they are the Mexican culture is very rich in it, isn't it? It's like there's lots of stuff in that culture that can be quite terrifying. And they celebrate the Day of the Dead. Is it something the Cinco, isn't it?
So the Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead, isn't it? And there's what else is another? I'm trying to think now. There was another one, Mexican. No, I can't remember it.
I know they like their wrestling over there.
We do like their wrestling. Yeah, they were great. The masks are brilliant. Mexican wrestling masks. Oh, that's good. Thank you, Jeremy.
He's a good lad, Jeremy is.
He is a good lad. But yeah, it's interesting, really interesting. And as I say, all these cultures share very similar parallels.
Yeah.
And I keep banging on about that, but it just intrigues me. I can't get my head around the fact that so many of these myths and legends, and not even myths, but maybe factual, and how the law sort of follows parallel lines to every other culture. But as William says, perhaps it's the origins that everybody fears the same thing. Oh, that's what I was going to say about the Mexicans. They were talking about the Mayans, weren't they? I remember seeing a program on it some time back, and they were saying that the Mayans just disappeared and they didn't know where they went to. And they was like, well, where have they gone? Where are these? But they just then became South American and Mexicans. They didn't die out. They just left and spread out amongst South America. So they were distributed rather than just went missing.
They did say that, when they did their sacrifices, they took them up to the top of their pyramid and they chopped their heads off, didn't they? And then they threw the heads. They threw the heads in this big. It's like a pond, like a vast pond that they had there, and they threw them all in there
They
afterwards.
poisoned it, didn't they?
Yeah, but they were then drinking that water.
They
So
poisoned themselves,
they
didn't
were
they?
killing themselves
Oh,
without
nice,
even
nice people.
realising it.
Yeah, not realising
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they were very clever, but very stupid at the same time.
Stupid.
Yeah. But again, but then you look at the architecture of some of those buildings out there. Those
Yeah.
pyramids are they're stunning.
Crazy,
Yeah.
aren't they?
They're just beautiful. And you think to yourself, we couldn't even do that today. We couldn't replicate that today.
I don't think we're allowed to, are we? Like, if we was to build anything nice anywhere, I think our local councils will come along and pull them down. You've not got planning permission for
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
That's our modern day bogeyman is the council.
Yeah.
The man from the council coming round, or be walking around the forest saying, "You can't put that up there. You got to chop that tree down there." Like,
or as we call them, the spoil-alls.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. What Williams says there, Viv. Oh, that's it. I didn't know that, William. That's interesting.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
So,
Yeah. Amazing cultures. Amazing.
So, yes. So, Jamie, your favourite bogeyman?
Was
Was it the one you liked as a kid?
Yeah, the one that like I say, I think it would have been the proper bogeyman. Like I said, we didn't really go for much of the others. I think it was the original, to be fair, because that's what we got scared as a kid. So I think that is my favourite one, I suppose, the bogeyman.
Here's a bogeyman.
I'll threaten the kids with Boris Johnson.
So here's a bogeyman that you guys might know of, you may not do, but in your teen years, I would still call it a bogeyman. This myth that you sat in front of a mirror with just a candle with the lights off, and you said "Deary Dory" 5 times, wasn't it, Dan?
Haven't heard.
Yeah, it was about 5 times, wasn't it? And all of a sudden it would appear.
Or in America, I think it was Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
The Americans Bloody Mary, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and in Hollywood, it's Candyman.
Yeah. Which again, that's a modern twist on the bogeyman, isn't it?
So, would you consider that to be a bogeyman, like the fact that you did that, and then this thing appeared, and it's supposed to haunt you, or Deary Dory's supposed to haunt you, or Bloody Mary's supposed to haunt you, but in Hollywood, Candyman will come and kill you. You know,
he's got a hook for a hand, doesn't he? Or he's got a hook, hasn't he? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I would think that was along the similar lines to the boogeyman, because he comes out of nowhere, doesn't he? And he terrifies people.
Yeah.
You know.
If he needs more cup, I'll give it to him. Okay.
Yeah, I would think that was similar. Would you, Viv?
I think so, because it's more of a bogeyman for teenagers.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
it's like these things where the kids say, "Oh, if you go to the lake at night and you run around the lake and then you'll see this, whatever it is." Is that a form of bogeyman? You know?
Mm.
I think it is, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. Viv.
I think we should do that on our next ghost hunt. Bloody Mary, and see if she appears and scares half the people away. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll make Jamie do it. And we'll wait behind the tree.
Yeah, because he's double hard now, so we have to get Jamie to do it.
Double hard now.
Double hard.
He owns a vest. He's double hard.
Yeah, give it 3 weeks to be treble hard.
So, any more thoughts of bogeyman? I mean, Shadow Man or Hat Man or Hag Woman.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you've got the woman who sits on your chest, haven't you? Which a lot of, I mean, you know, like night terrors and stuff like that. Is that a form of
bogeyman?
You know, is that a form of bogeyman, if you like?
A Bloody Mary. Oh, the drink he's talking about.
Yeah, Bloody Mary.
That's the name of a drink. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think this Bloody Mary is that one in New Orleans that killed all her slaves, isn't it? That Bloody Mary.
Oh,
Oh,
is it? I don't know.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
one. I can't think. Yeah, I can't think of the woman's name now.
I think if you go Google it, it will come up. But it's Bloody Mary is the lady in New Orleans that she had a vast plantation, and she killed or she was abusing her slaves and killing them, and she wasn't a very nice person at all.
No, I can't. Yeah,
But
she really. Yeah, I can't think of her name.
Nice
But
woman.
yeah, wasn't she French or something?
something
Or
like
French
that. Yeah.
origin, wasn't she? Like
I think so.
Creole or something, wasn't? Well, they would be, I guess, down New Orleans.
She's not a nice lady.
No,
Doesn't
not at all.
sound it.
No, she wasn't.
No, and
But
again,
yeah.
like, there's a thing called right. You're going to think I'm bonkers now. So there's a thing called zombies, not the ones you see on TV, but the Haitian zombies that are created by blowing this powder in people's
Controlled
faces.
by that powder, aren't they? They blow in their
Yeah.
faces.
And there was one gentleman that came back from the dead. I think it was quite a few years, 20 years after he'd been pronounced dead and buried. He came back to the village. The same man, clearly a little bit disturbed and, very zombie-like. But could you class him as a bogeyman, Dan? The fact that this zombie legend exists, are they bogeymen?
I would think he's just an unfortunate soul, to be honest. I would think that he's just somebody that's been... Because they use it's a powder, isn't it? They use or something.
Yeah.
Blow it in your face, don't they? And I think a lot of that's power of suggestion as well. I think that if you convince somebody that, of something, then they'll believe it.
But didn't they check his heartbeat and his vitals and everything had stopped? Like he'd stopped breathing and everything, and then
I don't know. I know that they've got ways of putting you to some sort of comatose state, haven't they? And then you get buried, or they get buried, and then all of a sudden they pick you up, and then you're you're convinced. Or I'm not sure how it works, but it is interesting. It is interesting.
Gary Smith says,
"Is the bogeyman?
Is
that
bogeyman?
Gary Smith is the bogeyman?
Yeah, probably.
Just something to scare us.
Yeah. But we're talking about the origins of it, Gary. It's like the origins. Where did it come from? It must have there must have been a kernel or a seed somewhere that started it. The origins.
Could religion or power been the origins of a bogeyman? Now, any bogeyman that there is, we've been through some of them tonight, but could the origins of bogeyman themselves happened because of religion or power as power over the people to get people to do what they wanted? And that's where the origins came from, Dan. What do you think?
I think the thing with churches is they are very much cut and dry, aren't they? I don't think See, we were talking about that, Gary, but the thing is, this thing spans across different cultures that have had no connection with each other. So we're looking at the origins of it being something other than... I mean, it could have been. There could have been an element of that in it. Other cultures took it on later. But it seems to go back in the annals of history, doesn't it, and time.
Yeah.
So, it sort of jumps cultures. It's across all cultures, which is interesting.
And the bogeyman himself is not necessarily a man.
No,
at any given stage, is it? It's just
a spirit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a spirit. It's like nature spirits. They're elementals, aren't they? They're spirits. They're they might come in the shape of a man or a woman, but to me, they're just an entity, they're a spirit. Nature spirit.
Like the Sandman, leaving his guck in your eyes.
He's not very. In your eyes.
He doesn't even. He actually comes into your house to do that while you're asleep. So
he blows that into your eyes, doesn't he?
Yeah,
that's the thing, isn't it?
Oh, sand. Sorry.
Have you not woken up in the morning and gone like that, and there's been a big lump of something there that's quite hard? They reckon that Sandman's left that behind. The Sandman's been.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting.
And the Tooth Fairy, is that a bogeyman? It's a fairy, which is a part of an elemental type being. When really, it's
that's what I was going to say. I think with the church, it's God, devil, isn't it?
And then you've got these bits in between.
Yeah,
and I think with things like, I mean, they try to dissuade you away from believing in things like the Fae or stuff like that, don't they? Because they believe that
Yeah.
is something that's either doesn't exist or is negative. And that's
Yeah.
well, they've turned them into something that's negative when they're not negative. They're just energies.
So I got my lead because I'm about to run out of juice.
But it's an image that's perpetrated by the church. But then again, you know, it's all about control, isn't it?
I've got gremlins in here. They're just sapping me of juice.
Mogwai.
Blame it on them.
Mogwai.
Yeah.
No, I haven't got Mugwai. I got the nasty
Mogwai.
one.
Mogwai. What was that little
Uh,
gremlin called? The cute one?
Gizmo.
Gizmo. That was it. Gizmo.
We ain't seen John tonight. Where is he?
I've shut
He's
the
locked
door
out.
for John.
Oh,
Can't
what?
come in.
He's a lad.
That's him.
That's him, yeah.
That was a great film. Absolutely superb film.
But yeah, no, it's so yeah, I was quite surprised to see some of the other bogeymen while I was doing my research, and a lot of them do originate in forests and going to places that you shouldn't be in after dark. So I was quite astonished how many I found that were forest related, to be honest.
Yeah.
Forest
Again,
or
nature
jungle
spirits.
related.
You know,
Yeah.
Or
I
jungle
wonder
related.
as well, could some of these things, these belief systems, could some of these characters, these folklore things, could they have started out as human?
It's an idea.
You know? Could they have
Well-
started out as human?
The Jersey Devil one. I just picked that one today because I was fascinated by this.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
And it was about, now I might get the names wrong, so bear with me on this because it's new to me. Is it Old Mother Lewis? Back in 1700 and something, she had 12 children and pregnant with her 13th. And she thought it was a curse. So she said, when this baby's born, it's going to be born a devil. And that's what happened. The Jersey Devil was born. And it
Oh,
sprouted. It had the face of a donkey or a horse, the wings of a bat, the legs of something else, and it was crazy.
yeah, vaguely. But I didn't know her name. I vaguely remember something along those lines, but I didn't know the woman's name.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
apparently this came about because she had 13 kids. That was the 13th that turned into the Jersey Devil because she wished it.
Shush.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It is interesting.
Do you think that was made up maybe so people came to the house to see this Jersey Devil, would pay money? Maybe it was to help her feed her 12 children. Who knows?
It could have been.
Could have been, yeah.
It could have been. It could have easily been, couldn't it? There's a lot, you know. I think as well, superstition was rife, wasn't it, around about that period? So people would jump onto anything, wouldn't they? That, you know, like pointing out women and accusing them of witchcraft.
Mm.
You know, it was just like a free for all, wasn't it? And some people just use those times and that culture as a money spinner.
Yeah.
You know, like the witch finder generals and that. It was all about this, wasn't it? It was all about money.
Exactly.
How
You
many
know.
gold pieces they can put in their pocket, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the more innocent people you can convict and sentence to death,
The more.
the more money you would get, you know. And of course, you'd increase your, especially as the king at that point was the one that was behind promoting it, because
Yeah.
was it James the First, Viv?
James the First, yeah. It's
It was
for
him, wasn't it?
demonology. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
for
he was the
demonology.
hammer of the witches, wasn't it? And that.
Well, he was the one that
Bible,
started
James
all
Bible.
the witchcraft, and that was it.
Yeah, King James Bible and stuff. But
Right.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It is, and people were superstitious, really superstitious.
So
But
out
then-
of all the bogeymen that there is, then Dan, that we've mentioned tonight, what is the one that you think you would most fear?
Oh, that's not a bad question.
Oh, I don't know.
James, Parker, same for you as well.
I can hear the talk.
Do you know what mine would be? And I'll tell you what mine would be.
Go on.
Mine would be the Banshee, because to have a screaming woman in your face like that,
Yeah.
don't cross a woman.
Mhm.
So, and you don't know what she's going to do to you. Apparently, you're supposed to befall a bad it's a bad omen if you hear
It's
the
an omen,
banshee.
yeah, she's an
Yeah.
Oh,
omen.
okay.
So
You
somebody
know.
will either
And
you'll
then-
die or somebody you know dies. But
Oh, nice.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I feel any of them really. To
do
be
you not fear the
honest,
dog? Would you not fear the dog man?
no. I don't think. I think if they said you got a choice to become whatever after you passed on, you know. I think I'd just want to be a nature spirit. I'd want to be in the woods or in the forests or
You'd be a fairy
somewhere,
then.
you know. Yeah, basically. I'm like, yeah. But with
I
the
didn't
fae.
mean it like that. But
No, I know what you meant. I know. Yeah, I know what you
yeah.
meant. No, with the fae, I think like that sort of. I don't know. Yeah, I think that. I mean,
Tooth fairy.
yeah,
Dad's a fairy.
tooth fairy. Pink tutu and a silver wand.
Yeah, that's what I
Imagine-
just pictured you in. Oh, hello.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I think probably an elemental. I guess something like that. If you had to be choose, you know, what do you think you'd associate yourself with? Probably that, I would guess.
What about you, Parker?
I think, like now talking about the other bogeyman's, I think it would have been the German one because he seems like a right
Oh,
You know,
Krampus.
Krampus.
Krampus. That's it. I don't know. He just
It's a bit like
it's like a ball in it.
it's a bit like Gene Simmons there with his tongue sticking
He's
out.
a bit like Gene
Yeah.
Simmons.
You don't know. You wouldn't want to make ends meet out of him, really, would you? So I'd stay
No.
well clear from him. So it probably will be him.
Krampus.
To be fair, Krampus. Yeah, I think just stay well clear from him. To be fair, it's
He's rotten to those kids, isn't he?
yeah.
If I was Krampus, I'd come and haunt like paranormal investigators.
I always thought that'd be a good thing when you pass over to be able to do. Just come back and scare the shit out of them. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Guess what time it is for, Dan? It's the Jar of Doom.
I
I
know. I was
missed it- I
wondering
missed
when
it
that was
last
going to come
week.
up.
The Jar of Doom.
Missed it last week, so I didn't get my homework, did I?
No, they're going to get it this week. Tell me
Oh,
when to
thanks,
stop.
love.
Tell me when to stop, Jamie.
Stop.
This one.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, excuse me. Dreams. Can they really mean something?
Mean
Oh,
something.
interesting.
That's going to be quite interesting.
Interesting.
So this is next week's show. This is what we're going to be talking about: dreams and can they really mean something? So more homework to do now.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
with everything else that's going on. Thanks, love.
You'll be all right.
Dreams.
Yeah, mate.
Well, before you go to sleep, ask them above. Can you tell me about dreams and if they really mean something? Get them to come to you in your dreams.
But anyway, on that note, I will see you tomorrow on Simply Spooky. I got the time wrong last week because I obviously when I saw it, I said 7 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock for Simply Spooky. So I do apologise about that.
It's all right. Doesn't matter.
8
So,
o'clock on Simply Spooky, 7 o'clock on Things. But next week we are going to be talking about
Dreams.
this.
Can they really mean something? Yes, I've got some really interesting thoughts on dreams.
Yeah, I
I'm
have.
sure we all have.
Yeah.
Sure we all have.
But,
And what we believe they are, or what they are. They portents? Are they information?
Mm.
Yeah, be cool.
It's going to be an interesting one, that one, I think.
It will be interesting.
Everyone's
It
got their
will
own
be
kind of opinions about it, haven't they?
To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, as long as it's not bleeding crystals.
Well,
We've done that one.
That's
done
what I mean.
that
Yeah,
one.
I'm frightened it's going to turn
Crystals.
up again.
what are your
Talking of
mate in
crystals,
Google?
Crystals is tomorrow.
tomorrow night will be an interesting one.
Is that who you've got on Simply Spooky?
Tomorrow night
The
we've
crys-
got on Simply
The
Spooky
Crystal
Viv.
Lady. The Crystal
Okay.
Lady herself.
That'll be
who
interesting.
Who is Dan? Who is she?
What, the Crystal Lady? Doreen Melaka,
Ask your crystal ball.
Crystal Balls. No, we've got the lovely Kerry Greenaway on tomorrow, haven't we, Viv?
We have.
crystal lady extraordinaire. She's
She
very.
is.
I mean, she's a font of knowledge on crystals. Very nice lady, and a friend to us, isn't she, Viv?
She is, and we've known her for quite a few years, so we know her very well, and we know the quality of her crystals and she's a font of all knowledge. Maybe we can ask her if the crystals would help ward against any bogeymen.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
true. That could be true. We could try that, couldn't we?
Yes.
We can ask her about that.
Put that down in your notebook, Dan.
It'll be down. I've written it. I've made a mental note of it because I'm mental, and then I'll write it down in a book later. Well, I'll tell you what. For the one person that's out there now, I'm ever so sorry that there weren't more people in the chat to
Yeah,
engage.
we did have a technical issue tonight, which may have interrupted it. It may not have. We don't know.
I think it has, to be honest. I think
I do.
we've never dropped that before. We've never had this sort of sparse coverage before. I don't think.
No. But I've been told that to be rest assured that it's now been resolved. So hopefully this won't happen again next week. We hope you can join us again next week. We are going to cut this short. We are going to finish it in 5 minutes. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed what we spoke about, the bogeymen.
I did, because I've learned quite a bit. Like I said, I only knew one. I didn't know there was loads. So no, I've learned a lot.
So yeah, as you say, Viv, hopefully next week it will be normal service resumed. Because if it isn't, then I won't be coming on there again.
You heard it here first.
What's up, you tart?
I'll be doing Simply Spooky on a Wednesday, and everybody else can go and whistle.
You say it again, Parker. Dan, shut up, you tart.
Boy, you can't talk the tooth fairy like that.
We can.
I won't leave money under your pillow.
It was my mum all along.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got 5 minutes. What do you want to chat about for the last 5 minutes? What else have we got going on?
Well, I was quite, I'm just gobsmacked about the Der Schwarzer, the Dark Man.
Yes. Interesting, isn't it?
Well, the actual
I've not heard of that
translation,
one before.
Schwarzer is black. So
Yeah.
we can't say that. So we would say the Dark Man.
Dark man, yeah.
So I suppose that's
No,
their
you can, I mean,
version.
Schwarz is just a German word for black, isn't it? Like Schwarzwald, like German,
I
like the
suppose-
Black Forest.
Yeah.
I suppose that's their version of Shadow Man, is it?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Ish.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. It might very well be, actually.
And the Slavic folklore, I was quite impressed about that, about the
Do
lady
you know
in the Witch
what?
in the Woods.
That is a very untapped font of folklore in Slavic peoples, because they've got so many
Yeah.
different energies and different spirits and what have you. It'd be intriguing to talk to somebody from whose origins, or
Yeah.
somebody who comes from there and find out more about their folklore and their history. Very interesting to find that out. So if anybody knows anybody from the Slavic nations, let us know.
Do you reckon they've got like a radioactive man there?
They might do.
Well, it's
Oh,
just a
hi,
thing,
Kelly.
isn't it?
Hi, Kelly. You're just coming on as we're finishing the show. But we'll be back tomorrow at 8:00 on Simply Spooky.
Yes, we will indeed. So,
We've got 2 minutes, Dan.
shall we finish with a song and dance?
Go on then.
La da 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 da.
I think we should finish it by congratulating 2 things. The first one is Eurovision, Sam Ryder. And he did England proud on
He's an Essex
Saturday
boy
night.
as well, and he's from Malden.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Yes.
So Sam Ryder, well done. We're all proud of you, boyo. And then the second congratulations has to go out to Liverpool Football Club, because they won the FA Cup final this year.
They did.
So
And they're losing now. as you
Well,
just
Gary
spoke.
was saying Gary said that he had a shop in Coggleshaw at one point. I didn't know that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
So yeah. So
I think he's
there's
talking about Sam. I don't think he's talking about the Bogeyman.
no.
The Bogeyman might
No.
have had a shop in Coggleshaw. I don't know.
Yeah, but Sam is the spaceman, so let's not get these two things confused. Bogeyman and aliens, totally different things.
Do people still watch that Eurovision Song Contest then?
I didn't,
do.
to be fair.
I do.
Do you?
I do.
God. Well, there you go. Cheers. Thanks, Gary.
Right, we've come to the end. We will be back next week at 7:00, all being well.
Or
Fingers
tomorrow
crossed.
night at 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you're not on tomorrow, we will see you next Tuesday at 7:00.
Have a good week. Stay safe.
Everyone, take care, and we'll beat up Jamie in the meantime, and he can tell you all about it next Tuesday.
What my pain.
Thanks very much, everybody. Have a good week and stay safe, and we'll speak to you either tomorrow night or next week.
See you later.